The following podcast is a next level production.
Maybe if I'd raised you, I could have made you better. And not some weak, sniveling pussy starved for attention. But there's no fixing that now. Weak? You. I know. You're a fucking disappointment.
Leave him alone! Please!
Get out of here, Ryan!
He'd almost lost all hope. And then you came. Oh, Peter, you were just so perfect. That's what Kamal means in Arabic. Perfect. But in Urdu, it's more like, what's the word? Wonder. Marvel. Kamal means marvel.
Hey, panelists, welcome back to the show. I'm Mark.
And I'm Steve.
And this will be a spoiler-full podcast about both The Boys Season 3, Episode 8, entitled The Instant White Hot Wild, and Ms.Marvel Season 1, Episode 6, No Normal. So we're going to jump right into The Boys Season 3, Episode 8, The Instant White Hot Wild. So I will read the synopsis saying... Calling all patriots, let's show Homelander we've got his back, and we're not going to let Starlight and her Starlight House of Horrors get away with the trafficking children and drinking their adrenaline. It's time for real Americans to fight back. Join the Home Teamers and Storm Chasers tomorrow at Vart Square. Stand back and stand by. Well, I do have to agree. Drink your adrenaline, but also listen to your Adrenaline Cinema podcast. But, not cheap. The cheap pop right there. But to me, it's like with these synopses that they give, it's pretty funny.
Yeah, I love this. I mean, I thought that it was a great finale. There's so many things. I watched it 3 times getting set up for this because we're on season 4 is all I can say because we set a lot of stuff up for it, and I can't wait to see what they do with season 4. I can't wait to see everything with the Boys universe.
Yeah, the only thing I have to say about this, and I have to go back to Austin Powers regarding this, Daddy wasn't there. Because Homelander, Daddy wasn't there. Here's a little crybaby boy. And that's what we get to see at the very end. So, Daddy wasn't there. He had no hair. Oh, no, I have no hair. Okay. But, it showed more and more. And then those are the cool elements within the episode that we'll talk about when we talk about this. So, we're going to jump right into, I actually did enjoy it, too, before we get into our highlights. It was a great turn of events. We did get a lot of people changing their minds about their plans, go on the fly based upon, what was happening within the episode. But this made for great action and TV, in my opinion, overall. That's literally what my feelings were about this particular episode.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It was great the way they kind of subverted our expectations in a way, because we were expecting one thing and we got something completely different. And then we got, just some great stuff in this episode.
Oh, yeah. I would definitely say that. Let's move right into our highlights. So what's your first highlight that you liked?
I just want to talk a little bit about Butcher, because I like his whole arc this season, and particularly the storyline in this episode has been really interesting, because we've gone from the Butcher who, was willing to do anything to take down Soups to he's still that Butcher, but he wants to save Huey. He doesn't want Huey to die, so he knocks him out before Huey will take the V again. And so he and Soldier Boy end up going to take on Homelander, by themselves. And then we see him when he sees that Ryan is there, he's like, oh no, this is totally different. And then Soldier Boy hits Ryan, and that changes Butcher's demeanor completely, to where he and Homelander, they almost kind of team up going after Soldier Boy for a
Correct.
there
Yeah.
for a few
Yeah.
minutes.
That was
And so
interesting.
yeah, and then the very end, him talking to the doctor, and the doctor basically saying, well, you got 12 to 18 months to live. And he's like, well, you can't smoke in here. And Butcher's like, what do you think? Just F off. You just told me I'm going to die in a year to a year and a half. What does it matter if I smoke? Kind of thing. And then I loved that whole leaning in the door thing, drinking the soda when he's over, he's kind of, I got the impression that he was listening in on everything they were saying. He heard all of them talking about Starlight joining the boys, which I think is just amazing that
Yep.
we have the boys back with a couple of girls. And I loved everybody raising their hand, and Frenchie saying this is democracy now. Butcher's not in charge.
Yeah.
But then still, when they see that Victoria Newman, and that's a whole nother thing we got to talk about. And he's like, okay, she's next on the list. And I just love that we got this moment to where now we see that the boys are full on. We've got a full team here with at least 2 soups. And depending on what Billy does about, what does he care about taking more V if it's
I wouldn't be surprised in the beginning of the season he takes the V like you stated.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be
And so
surprised.
I just loved his arc, but at the same time, he accepts, the whole team accepts Starlight into them, and it looks like Billy is as well. He's going to accept Starlight into them as part of the team. So I just love, like I said, I loved his arc and everything that happened with him throughout the season.
I think Billy found family is what it was at the very end of this. And I think that's literally what he needed. And that was based upon my thoughts of how he kept looking at Huey saying, you do look like my freaking brother.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly how it was. It's like, okay, so he loves Huey like a brother.
Yeah.
And he wants to be Huey's older brother at this point. And he also wants to make up for what he did to the others, like Frenchie, who else? Was Kimiko,
Mm-hmm.
and all the others that were involved with the boys. And now he's accepting of all things Annie. So I think that's great.
Yeah, and I love that you mentioned that about that Billy found family, because we have the exact opposite with Homelander.
Oh,
Him
he has no
basically
family.
rejecting all of his family, and all he has is Ryan now.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, well, let's talk about that, too. There's that meeting, too, and that's one of my highlights is meeting with Homelander, Ashley, A-Train, and the Deep, saying that he was promised a family by Vought, and they were all that he had, and he was left with this.
yeah.
And he was not happy with this. And I think he felt Noir was literally family because he was brought in, but he felt betrayed at that point because he winds up killing Noir because Noir winds up telling him of what Soldier Boy had done. And
That was a weird, it took me watching it 3 times to really fully understand what was going on there, because basically Homelander killed Noir because he realized that Noir knew all along
that he was his father. Yeah.
Yeah, that Soldier Boy was his father, and that Soldier Boy was alive somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to work this out in my head, because he killed Black Noir basically because Black Noir lied to him for these 20 years or whatever, however long he's been an adult, because he was a child when
I'd say he's in his 30s. So
yeah, but I'm saying he was a child when Soldier Boy was taken off by the Russians.
Correct.
Noir, so he's like, you've known my whole life. You've known where my father is, and you kept it from me.
Exactly.
And when I realized that was why he was so intense and so killed him. And that whole scene is just,
that was so hard because he put his fist right through his body, and you hear the gurgling, and then you see the cartoon animation behind him going, oh, and then he kind of drifts off, and that's it.
Yeah.
Within the scene, though, with the meeting, though, he gives Deep a mission, which was from Victoria Newman, which we find out later. And I kind of figured it out once we saw the runner up for the vice presidency in the pool at that point, which is what he was able to do. Ashley, he goes, Ashley, take that wig off. What wig? And she takes it off. And then we realize I knew her hair couldn't be that thick. So she kept pulling and pulling and pulling. And she was she might have probably
pulling out all her hair. Yeah.
All her hair. But by that time, it had to be last season that she ordered this wig because she kept pulling it and having people pulling it for her too with her sexual requirements and stuff.
Yeah.
And then Homelander talking about A-Train killing his own kind with Blue Hawk as well. But the fact that, A-Train is still self-hating at this point because he's got Blue Hawk's heart in him.
Which is, it's still a hypocritical statement for Homelander, right? Because he just killed Noir. Like,
exactly.
He's blaming A-Train for killing Blue Hawk, saying, well, you're killing your own. And earlier in the last episode, he tells Victoria Newman, thank you for choosing your own. But then Homelander kills Noir. So it's a very hypocritical kind of thing. It's a more of a like do as I say, not as I do.
Exactly.
Kind of thing from Homelander. So yeah.
Yeah. Did you have anything else or?
Yeah, I've got plenty.
Oh, same here.
But yeah, along that lines with that meeting, like you said, the Deep goes and he kind of says, it might be treason to do that, which he wasn't announced as the vice presidential candidate yet, so maybe
he was like the runner up, and
it's still murder. But
it is still murder, yeah.
Yeah, and we see that again, like you stated, Victoria Newman ends up getting the vice presidential seal there or announcement from Robert Singer, which I still love the fact that Eric Kripke not only brought in the actor's name is escaping me right now that plays Robert Singer, but he plays Robert Singer in this show and he played Robert Singer in Supernatural. So it was
really?
Yeah, that's the same actor. Yeah, and I can't believe the name is just completely escaping me right now. I feel terrible that I can't think of his name. But yeah, Eric Kripke brought him in. Not only did he bring him in the same actor, but he gives him the same name. It was really, really kind of cool.
Crossover continuity right there. That's for
there
sure.
There you go. I kind of want to talk about Maeve a little bit here.
Yes, that was my next up too. Maeve getting out of Vought Tower.
Yeah, so we see that, Ashley and the Deep are worried that the Attorney General is going to get there and find Maeve. And so they knock her out. And I was a little, again, this, even in the third watch, this still confused me a little bit. They knock her out with I'm assuming the same Novichok gas that everybody else is using to knock out Soups. But yet somehow she was able to overcome it in the van and break out. I didn't understand that part of it.
Same here.
But okay, we'll let that slide because I just loved everything with Maeve in this episode.
Same here.
To see her, she says something to Huey about what did she say?
I have the quote if you want.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well,
it's like say it. Yeah. Maeve goes to Huey saying it's like you're a neon sign that says "Raw dog me, I'm a bottom." When Huey states, "Hey Maeve, glad to see you all right," and he just goes back. He goes, "Okay, thanks."
But I love that fight that she has there with Soldier Boy, or not. I'm sorry, with Homelander there. But she's the one. She has that kind of turn, and this is where we get that denial of expectation. Is MM walks in, he's got that gas that they're going to use on Soldier Boy, and she grabs it and throws it out the window, basically saying, "No, we're going to use Soldier Boy to go take out Homelander." And that's when Billy locks them all up in the safe and turns off the power so that Starlight can't use her powers to break them out. And so that's why the three of them end up, Soldier Boy, Maeve, and Butcher, going to Vought Tower to fight Homelander. And then, man, that fight between Maeve and Homelander, I cringed.
Oh yeah, eye gouging. Yeah, that got me too.
But yeah, I love the fact that she sacrifices herself.
Oh, she lost. I truly think she lost her powers with Soldier Boy and her and him exploding, and then she was probably in the hospital for a while, and then she left with her girlfriend at that point.
No, they showed that we saw the scene there. Oh yeah, she may have been somehow. They may have found some way to fix her up, but they show that they show that scene where the Ashleys see her alive being put into the van by the boys. Yeah. And so they did, and then they delete the file. And I thought, wow, that's pretty bold for
Ashley. Yeah.
Yeah. Are they gonna be able to keep this secret from Homelander? Because obviously Maeve's now got to try to hide out. Like she says, they're going to go back to the farm. And I love that the soundtrack songs in this episode were great.
Oh yeah.
That Elton John's Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. Talking about going back to the farm and just, Yes, I just loved everything.
Especially because that was like attributed to her character and where she came from. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I really just loved all that. I love that where she says, "Question: Should I get a pirate patch or the Sammy Davis glass eye?" I just thought
I always go with the pirate patch, and I agree completely with Annie.
Absolutely. So that was my next one. Was just kind of just Maeve, just talking about Maeve and that fight with Homelander and how she again she ends up becoming the hero of the thing. And I think you're right because she says that I'm just another schmuck.
Yes.
Now with no powers, and which is what she's wanted throughout this season. We've heard her say that a couple times.
She wanted out.
Yeah.
She wanted out from the last season. Honestly, she. I think what was that YouTuber that we covered last week? And then they gave us some feedback, but the way she depicts how she was doing it, and ever since that whole flight with Homelander, and that was on tape. I think since then she's like, I want out. I don't want to deal with this anymore. And I don't blame her. And now, I'm assuming, like I said, like you do, she has no powers because of Soldier Boy, which is good because now she could live a fruitful life with her girlfriend and then have a life and go from there. With Ashley within that particular scene, as you brought up, I would not be surprised if we see Ashley coming to the aid or help of Butcher and next season, which would be very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a possibility because we did, as much as she's getting belittled and put down by Homelander, eventually she's going to snap. So, yeah. Jim Beaver, I had to look it up. That's the name of the actor.
Wow.
Jim Beaver. He's the one that plays Bob Singer in both Supernatural and The Boys. Sorry.
All right. Well, to move on to another highlight that I had, which was very cringing to watch, was Homelander and Ryan. He shows up at Grace's farm, and the fact that he got that information from Victoria Newman to find Ryan at that point, to bring him to the battle at that point in the building, and he uses it during the battle at the Vought Tower with Soldier Boy, Butcher, and the rest of the crew. And it just doesn't work out properly. And I just, by that time we get into the fight, it's like Soldier Boy looks at Homelander and says, you're a sniveling wimp. That was to be my replacement. And that's when the fight goes on. And then when Soldier Boy gets attacked by Butcher because Ryan was attacked by Soldier Boy, then he goes, what the hell's going on here? And he goes, well, that's my wife's kid. Oh, Homelander screwed your wife? And we'll talk about a pussy or wimp or whatever. And it's like, and then that's when that Homelander Butcher thing on top of Soldier Boy goes into effect. And then Maeve comes into place after a while too, because it's just literally Butcher and Soldier Boy and then Maeve and Homelander. And the fight is, like you said, was incredible because it's all over the place at a certain point. And then Maeve comes out with the punches and throws, and I'm like, it's Wonder Woman on acid. She's ready to beat down. And that to me was like the greatest thing I saw in this show so far. And as Rob would say, he goes, this show just gets crazier and crazier as we talk about this. He goes, every time I look at this show, it just gets crazier and crazier. I said, yeah, it's like a Howard Stern show. Because back in the day, they used to say, for fans, they're like, oh, well, why do you listen to him? I just want to see what he has to say next. And then for the Howard Stern haters that was always out there for Shock Jock, they would always say and ask to these people who hate him, why do you listen to him? Well, I want to see what he has to say next. And that was the constant thing. So now with this show, it's like, I want to see what they have to do next. How could they top their last episode or last season at this point? Because this show gets crazier and crazier. I'm curious, how much more can they get crazy with this show?
Yeah, we're gonna see it next season, I'm sure. I love that Frenchie figures out that he can make the gas there in Vought Tower, and then we get that scene, another one of those bloody fight scenes with Kimiko putting the wireless pods in her ears,
and flash dance.
Yeah, I love it. And she's just dancing around and killing guys, and you can just see that there's a difference. And I love this actress. She's great in her facial expressions, because you just see, like, in earlier seasons and like when they attack with the dildos, you could see that she didn't like what she was doing, but now suddenly she sees the good of what she's doing.
Yeah, she's seeing a benefit behind it, helping others. Yeah,
she's having fun with it. So there was a smile on her face.
But the look on Frenchie's face when she starts dancing, he's like, "What is going on here?" And speaking of Frenchie, he puts the world's deadliest nerve agent in a $10 bottle of Starlight's Wish perfume.
Yeah, and then Maeve throws it out the window. So I mean, there's a loose thread that we're never going to see to find out what happened with. But still, one of the things I wanted to go back before we get too far away from it. You talked about Ryan a little bit. Yeah, I think Ryan really saved the boys, because when he calls out to Homelander there after the fight's all over, after Soldier Boy's out the window, and we see Homelander walking in, and Ryan comes out, and Ryan says, "I want to go, and I want to go with you." And so Homelander takes him, because at that point, I mean, they were all going to be at the mercy. I mean, Starlight had burned out. I loved Huey figuring out a way to help Starlight without taking the V. That was just perfect. And them getting back together is just amazing. I'm so glad they were back together, because I was so worried that we were going to lose that relationship.
I don't think that's going to be lost.
No. And I just love, so you get that moment, and I was trying to see it every time I watched there at the end of the episode when Homelander kills that guy, and all these people are shouting his name, and the camera pans down to Ryan, and he's just poker faced. I can't tell whether he's glad Homelander just did that, or whether he's scared, or just complete blank. And I think
he's befuddled. He doesn't know what to expect, because he's like, wow, is this right or is this wrong? I think that's in his mind right now, because the only people he knew was his mother, Butcher, and Grace, and Homelander to some degree. And Homelander always came off as like a crazy person in front of him. So maybe he has a little bit of a good side in his mind about what's right and what's wrong. Who knows?
Now we're gonna see what Homelander's like as a father. I guess we're gonna see him actually try to raise Ryan himself. We'll see how that turns out next.
Now that it's announced that that is his son.
And
everybody knows floated down.
I was kind of surprised he didn't put him in some kind of a costume, that he just left him kind of in the clothes he was wearing. I was kind of surprised, but maybe it's because, he remembers himself. And I did watch that Diabolical short that was about Homelander, and it gave us some clues to the way Homelander was brought up as a child and the way they experimented on him and stuff. And so maybe he doesn't want that to happen with Ryan. So
I believe that too. I'm looking at some of my notes. So A-Train talking to his brother Nate, and how Nate doesn't want A-Train there anymore. The fact that he killed Blue Hawk and Nate knew, but A-Train was trying to brush it off. Nate just wanted justice with Blue Hawk's mugshot out there to the world, but not be dead. He just wanted justice. He just wanted vindication. He didn't want A-Train to go out there and kill him.
Yeah, exactly. Very similar to the conversation we see between Marvin and his daughter, where he's telling her about what Soldier Boy did to their family. And explaining. And I just, that moment when he tells her, it makes me sad. And then sometimes it makes me mad. And letting her know that, hey, this is who I am. And I just love that scene of him opening up to her, telling her about the family, what Soldier Boy did, and kind of not explaining himself, but letting her know that, hey, I'm flawed. I've got flaws. Yeah. I just love that.
Yeah. And moving on to family related stuff. Huey's talking about pizza rolls and his father that he would do every night to Annie, and him realizing his father was strong and he was taking care of him at that time, at their time of need. And he didn't realize it and he realized that his father wasn't weak. He realized his issues with using the V-24 and letting Annie tell him, "I told you so." I thought that was a great scene altogether.
It was wonderful to hear him acknowledge the fact that he realizes now that, my father was the strongest one, because not only did he stay, but he kept us going. Mom left. And
he kept the lights on. He kept working. He took care of me.
And it had to be the hardest time for him.
Yeah,
as well for Huey's dad. So I just love it. We did not get enough Simon Pegg this season. We only got him in FaceTime thing. FaceTime in that one episode. So we need to get some more Simon Pegg next season. I'm calling you out, Eric Kripke. We need more Simon Pegg next season.
All right, I have a few quotes. I'm pretty sure you do too.
I've got a couple that we haven't used yet.
Okay. What was it? Okay, this one's pretty funny. This was from Frenchie. He goes, "No, my cake hole will remain open. You will never command me again. I am done with your cruelty. I deserve respect, and we all deserve paid vacation days and a dental plan." And that was the butcher.
That was great. Yeah. Well, and just like you already talked about the pizza rolls, but I loved Annie's when Huey asks about, does she know what pizza rolls are? And she goes, like middle school sleepover pizza rolls.
Yeah, exactly.
I loved it.
Oh.
The only other one I've got is it's one of those. It's not a funny line, but it's a very powerful line delivered by Huey when they're talking about saving Butcher. And he says, "We save everyone, even if they don't deserve it, especially if they don't deserve it." I thought that was just a wonderful line to hear from Huey and see his character development throughout these last 3 seasons, really.
Same here. I have one from Soldier Boy too, which is pretty interesting. It's him addressing Homelander, and he says, "It's a shame that I have missed so much. I wished I could have raised you father to son. Maybe if I raised you, I could have made you better, and not some weak, sniveling pussy starved for attention. But there's no fixing that now." And then the fight moves on, and it goes right into the whole fight, because Homelander just feels rejected and put down by Soldier Boy, and that's literally, and then Maeve and Butcher both smile basically to these words as well, which is amazing too to see on screen.
Absolutely. Yeah. I thought it was just everything about this finale was really, really good. Each episode, and I think I heard TV podcast industry said something very similar to this. It's like each episode we're like, wow, that was the best episode ever. How can they do better? And then we get to the next episode and we're like, how can they do better
than that?
Yeah. And I just thought it was great from like you said, Ashley taking off her wig and seeing that she's pulled out all her hair. And, at one point I'm still curious, because I know when did she pull out all her hair? When did she get this wig? Because I'm kind of with you.
I'm thinking last season, at least.
So she's been pulling hair out of the wig, you think? I think she's been pulling her hair out this whole season, just now using the wig to cover it up.
I think so too. Yeah.
Oh, just great season.
The last quote I would have, that would be from Butcher himself, and that would be towards Huey. He goes, and this is after he knocks him out, he goes, "You really are the spitting image of my little brother."
Yeah.
And then he goes, and then Soldier Boy goes, when they're in the car, he goes, "Where's the cum guzzler?" And Butcher goes, "You were spot on about him. There I was, filling up the motor. I'd turn around, the little git had gone a runner." And that was because of him saving Huey. But you knew at that point, that's how he felt about Huey, that's basically his little brother now. And that's what I really appreciate about that particular episode.
Yeah. And that's the only other kind of hole in this really is the whole point of Huey was that Huey was going to be able to get them into Vought Tower. And they didn't show us how Soldier Boy and Butcher got into Vought Tower, but that's okay. We can forgive them some story points.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was our coverage for The Boys, Season 3, Episode 8, The Instant White Hot Wild. So if you guys have any thoughts, you know how to send in that feedback. So we're just going to move right along and move into Ms. Marvel Season 1, Episode 6, the finale, No Normal.
Yes, and this one is good. Back in Jersey, Kamala finds Cameron and protects him from damage control, who will stop at nothing to take him in.
Boom. Yeah.
Yep.
And, well, my initial thoughts, I loved it. It was a great way to end the actual season and introduce us to more stuff to come into the MCU. And that's what we will get into when we get into our discussion points. But overall, I just loved it. It was a great way. I felt the new confidence within Kamala, especially with Bruno and Nakia and the family itself. The family is together. Mm-hmm. Kamala's family, Kamala Khan's family is together, and they embrace her, which is amazing.
I just love it. I've got some of that in my points with her family. But yeah, it was I love the things that got wrapped up. I also love the things that are kind of set up for the future, whether that's a second season or whether, as the ending card said, that Ms. Marvel will return in the Marvels. So
yes,
again, we've talked about it all season because it's already been announced. We knew she was going to be in the next Marvels movie, but here we've got the official statement saying it. So I'm really cool. Wow, there is a few things we need to talk about with this episode. It may be short, but we've got a few things we need to talk about.
All right, well, let's dive right in. First off, we know for now the real evil within this particular show is always the DODC, the Department of Damage Control. So, which we find out, and we kind of got from the last episode, but in this case, it's more prevalent, not just to Kamala, Cameron, all her friends, her family, but also to the community itself. Because even the mosque really helps out during this particular episode, which I enjoyed.
Yeah, even the cops. I thought that was great. Yeah, this was one of I loved, the fact that Agent Diva, the female one, she goes way out of line here. And so we have the other guy kind of pulling rank on her finally.
Yeah.
And telling her, you obviously you're relinquished of your duties. But I love that sequence there at the end when all the cops, they're facing the kids and then suddenly they do that about face. So it was a perfect, I didn't notice until the second watch, but they did a perfect about face all together at the same time to where they were facing damage control. And they're like, no, you're not taking her.
It's awesome.
It was just great.
Their community, this is our community. You can't take her away from us. And that is awesome. I wish they would do that to Peter Parker, but nobody knows who Peter Parker really is.
Anymore. But yeah, her brother showing her up there at the school and just like eavesdropping on their whole plan and just dropping it in. And they're just like, where'd you come from? And he's like, I went to school here too. I know
how to sneak in. Yeah, I go through the bathroom.
I thought that was great. I thought all those events in the school there was really great. The way they coordinated their defense and
their attacks. Oh my God. Yeah. The foam, because they use science, and then Bruno uses the same technology he left for Mr. Khan. That it was it was like a surprise box that this guy used to do when people stole the Amazon gifts. Mm-hmm. But it had glitter and made a lot of noise and
and the fire extinguishers going and so
the foam.
Zoe breaking the glass when we can see right along the side is that metal thing that's supposed to be used to break the glass, that she's using whatever she had in her hand. It's a great sequence. Obviously they all got caught, but we get to see again. We see the violence of these damage control guys, and
it's all Stark technology too. If you don't realize it, I don't know if you realize that within it, a lot of it is made up of Stark technology that the government has claimed. So DODC has all of Stark technology as far as like the repulsors. What else did they have? There was a couple other things I'm forgetting, but the fact that they're using
the drones, the drones, the tasers, all of that. Yeah.
Everything.
That's all Stark stuff. Yeah.
Yep. So, there's no Tony to actually eliminate that. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about Kamala's new suit.
Okay.
So,
go ahead.
I loved it. Her mom made it for her in Pakistan and packed it into the toffee boxes.
Absolutely. That was so incredible. It was so great to see her family just embracing her and what she's got going on. The everyone being supportive of her, and then, like you said, her mom makes the costume. I love that moment in the house at the beginning when we see her father being so proud, and the sister, the new sister-in-law, asking all these questions,
and so does her brother. But the funny thing is, this is like, Dad leaves it on speaker, so we all hear, everybody hears it, and it's like, oh, typical family. It's like, okay.
But I love the brother kind of giving her a hard time about, was that your choice, was to break that kid's leg? It was really just kind of being the big brother of giving her a hard time. But I love it. And then, of course, at the end, she gets her name. We haven't officially heard her say it yet, but she gets her name, obviously, from her father.
Yes.
He says, "You are our Ms. Marvel." I thought that was just wonderful.
Well, yeah, he said basically Kamala means Marvel, and not Hindi, but Arabic, I think.
Urdu. I think he said Urdu. Urdu was Marvel.
Urdu. Okay.
Yeah, Hindi was perfect or something like that.
Yeah,
Hindi was like perfect. And then Urdu, though, was Marvel, and that's what he liked.
And her mind just went to Carol Danvers. I'm like Captain Marvel, and he goes, I don't know who this Carol Danvers is, but obviously we do get what I've been looking forward to, is get actual Carol Danvers at the end of the episode. We get, if you guys were able to stay until the end credit scene, we get Kamala blipping away, and then we get Carol just falling into her bedroom going, where the hell am I? Why is there pictures around me?
I couldn't tell, because here's the thing, though, with that scene, like I wasn't sure the first time, but then the second time I was like, no, that is Brie Larson. That is, because that's her costume. But the voice was Kamala's voice.
Yes.
That's what it sounded like to me. So I don't know if she turned into, like, her image changed to Captain Marvel or what happened there. But obviously this is something that's probably going to be explained in the movie when it comes out.
And the Marvels probably when it comes out. I have to go back and listen. You said it was her voice, so now I have to go watch it.
It sounded to me like Kamala's. Yeah, it sounded to me like it was Kamala's voice coming out of that. Now, I could have been wrong. I could be wrong. It could have been Brie Larson's voice, but it really sounded like it was Kamala's voice coming out of her. So like at first I was like with you, I thought, oh, did she just change places?
That's what I thought. Captain
Marvel?
Yeah.
But I think her image changed into, because she's looking at the pictures, but I don't know. I obviously we're going to have to probably get some further deep divers into this and see, but I could be wrong. It might not have been Kamala's voice, but it's sure that second.
Well, you guys, you listeners tell us. You back and research that for us, and you get back to us and let us know. And to top off on that, talking about community, we get the head of the mosque protecting Kamala, Bruno, Cameron. Yeah. And on top of that, and the DODC comes in and they say all these stupid things about, it's like, oh, we have somebody that looks like this. And he goes, well, that describes everybody within this mosque.
Yeah, it was great. They all had their IDs out and they're all ready. But yeah, I love it. And then they're searching through and they come to that one room that's got that kid in it who Nikaya says is her boyfriend. And he's like, did you get that on tape? Is your body camera on? Can I get a copy of that? Hey, world, I'm her boyfriend. And I'm just like, whatever, guy.
Well, the fact that there's such a sense of community within this world, and Kamala feels it. Towards the end, we do get that feeling of everything, and we do see it. We see it on Instagram, all the media stuff that's going on. We do get to see the creator of Ms.Marvel in that too.
Okay, that's who that was. Okay, I was trying to figure that out.
There was a white female. Now, mind you, she is a white female, and she does talk about it, and she is there, and that is the creator of Ms.Marvel,
the showrunner. That's great. I saw that on IMDb and I didn't know who that person was. So that was really cool. When I was trying to figure out if Brie Larson was actually in the episode or not, and she isn't credited, I saw that other credit and I was like, who is this person? So that's who that was that I was looking at. I loved it. One of the things that goes right alongside with what you're talking about with the community, not just the mosque community and the Pakistani community there, but the real plan being the fact that Zoe's TikTok followers brought all those other people then to the high school was great. I love that part when the smile that Zoe gets on her face when Kamala reveals that, well, the real plan they're like, oh, we're gonna stop the damage control with softballs, and she's like, no, we're gonna stall damage control with softballs. The real plan is Zoe, and then we find out that it's her sending out her TikToks. I thought that was just so clever and so great.
Yeah. And there's so much sense of community within this, and the fact that we get Deaver decommissioned from the DODC at the very end, and that is amazing. And her boss is saying, "No, you're fired. You're done. You have to leave right now." And that was after the whole instance between Cameron and Kamala.
Yeah.
And to me, honestly, that was amazing. I just loved it in the sense that they treated them as people. But, obviously Kamala just runs off as she does.
Yeah, that's another one of those things that we hadn't talked about yet. Cameron, when he figures out that his mom is dead, that Najima is gone, and Kamala's trying to be sympathetic with him. But then he just loses it, and he goes outside and he's attacking people, and Kamala has to save. Basically, Kamala saves that whole crowd from that Hummer. She stops Cameron, and then she opens that hole up so that he can get to the harbor. I loved, that was one of those things that the Red Dagger just said, "Oh, get him to the harbor." Like, no specific dock, no place.
Nothing. Anyway.
The harbor. Yeah. I was like, okay, I'll forgive it, I guess, because
I guess they're parked on every harbor known to man in, like, Queens.
Yeah.
In that area. Is it Queens?
It was New Jersey.
New Jersey. Okay. So it's New Jersey. So all around New Jersey, they probably had all those guys waiting, going, when is this guy coming?
Yeah, I was just get him to the harbor. And every time she would say "get to the harbor," I'd be like, "You need to tell him a place, like a specific. Like you got to be a little more specific than the harbor." I was just, I thought, but anyway, that it gave me a laugh. It gave me a chuckle every time they would say that, because I was just like, "What? How is he going to know where to go?" But of course, we do see at the end. We see him show up there back in Pakistan, and he does approach the Red Dagger. So we're obviously going to see more of him at some point, whether it's in a season 2 or in the movie or whatever.
Yeah, and you do see Kamala's love interest from that side too of the daggers too.
Yeah,
that gave her scarf. Yeah, he kind of gives Cameron that look of like, "Hey, how are you doing? Hey, bro, what's up?"
Yeah. Well, I mean, because effectively, from what we understand, I guess there is no more clandestines. They're all gone.
They're all gone.
Cameron is the last one left. Yeah. So he's by himself. He's got to rely on somebody else to help him. So.
And plus, we have to talk about the topic of Kamala herself, because there was that ending scene. We already spoke about it briefly, about Bruno stating that there is a gene output or something within her genes that's different than her family. We get the X-Men theme from 1997.
Okay, that's what that was. I thought that sounded familiar.
Yeah.
And then he uses the word mutation, and I think we already talked about it a little bit, but she just says, I love that line that comes from when she says, "Oh, it's just another label." That the mutant would be just another label, and she doesn't want a label. I thought that was really great. It was a great way for Feige to bring mutants into it without actually saying the word mutants.
Exactly.
Without actually bringing, and so it's open now for them to do something with it or not. It's all up to them now.
It was very much alluding very much like what we got with Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which I had covered, I think with Robert. Was it Robert that I covered that? I think it was with you.
Did we? No, we talked about.
All right, yeah. And
you're going to do Love and Thunder with Rob. Yeah. Love and Thunder with Rob.
Yeah, but within that, we got the 1997 animated X-Men theme within that when they introduced Xavier with the yellow hovercraft or whatever wheelchair that he is, hover wheelchair. And we got that again. So it's like very prominent in the sense that we're going to get mutants within us. And the way that they're trying to decipher this is that Kamala is not, the bangle enhances her mutant genes. So it's always been deep down. It just enhanced it in the sense that she could do it. It also enhances in the sense that she could do more. So we got the embiggen thing within the episode. Obviously, she's able to embiggen herself, which is amazing. We never got to see another bangle, unfortunately, but in a sense that she is able to hone her abilities. And now I'm hoping that Cameron could do that with whatever they put him in later on within in the MCU, or whether it be another Marvel Disney Plus show. I would like to see that. But it would show that that he is actually a mutant, just like Kamala herself. You know,
right?
But they didn't really talk about Inhumans, and we haven't really topped up upon that subject, which is fine. I think Marvel's kind of straying away from that because due to, what was it, 4 years ago? They tried to do that, and it was terrible. And it was released in the theaters, and the only thing that we got a snippet of it was within Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, when we got Black Bolt in that, and that was about it. But as you comic book enthusiasts know, that mutants were descendants of Inhumans because they were integrated with Inhumans, and that's how we got that mutation where there are mutants, and that's where they get their abilities from. According to the Fox theory, they get it from the male genome. So it's the male that kind of gives that gene itself and progresses it. So we'll see what they do with it within the Marvel Cinematic Universe as well as Disney Plus. We have so much to look forward to because there is so much on the table that we're going to be looking forward to, as far as like with shows with She-Hulk. What else is coming out? There's so much more.
Yeah, She-Hulk, What If, Loki. We've all got, like you said, Love and Thunder's coming out. I don't know if there's another movie slated for this year or not. It's been so long since I saw that. I'm sure there's going to be a whole bunch of stuff that after the San Diego Comic-Con at the end of the month, we're going to have a lot of stuff that they're going to release and hopefully give us dates on.
Yeah.
I think Love and Thunder, and then She-Hulk is the next thing after that. And then maybe What If, I want to say.
I'm hoping What If, because I really enjoyed What If as a cartoon, and they were able to expand on so much because it was in cartoon form. But I'm looking more forward to the What If Zombies. I don't know if that's going to be a live action or if it's going to be animated. If it's animated, I wouldn't be upset. But I really enjoyed that one episode that we did get. And I actually rewatched it recently, too. And honestly, it does hold up. And it's so much fun. It's kind of gruesome, yes. But if they move forward from that, that would be amazing. Unfortunately, we don't have Chadwick Boseman. And he was still left alive. And that was crucial within the comic story. And obviously, he was still left alive at the very end of the last What If with What If Zombies. But I'm looking forward to it. And, to me, whatever we get, I will embrace it completely because it is Marvel and it's stuff that we all grew up on.
Yeah. The only other thing I've got is there's a quick, I was a little confused both times watching it, and I don't know if we're ever going to get any closure on it, but there was a quick scene at the very end of the episode that we see Bruno stick a letter in someone's locker. And that happens before the car scene with Nakia and Kamala. So I was a little confused about who is he giving this letter to? Presumably we would think he'd be giving some sort of letter to Kamala, maybe, telling her his feelings or something. I don't know. But like I said, it was real quick scene of him. He puts a letter in somebody's locker, and then we get the 1 week later, or maybe it's in the same time. I don't know, but either the car scene where the three of them are laughing and driving away in the car is after the scene with this letter that he puts in to the locker. So I don't know what that's all about. I don't know if we're ever going to get any closure on that. I can't believe they would put a scene like that in there.
I really don't think that's a throwaway scene. I don't think that is meant for Kamala. I think that was meant for Nakia.
Maybe, yeah.
And
we'll have to find out. And
I really think that, like, you know how I said I would always ship both Bruno and Nakia.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was a letter from Bruno to Nakia to say, hey, keep track of Kamala, and these are the things that I have found.
Yeah. And like I said, it was just very confusing that it takes place before the car scene.
Especially since, basically stole Cameron's ride. In a sense,
well, he left it behind. So, he couldn't take it with him.
Well, that insurance is going to be so great for a kid that age. Trust me.
I don't think they're worrying about insurance at this time. So,
not now, and not until the bill comes, and they're like, "Oh crap! Here, I'll sell it." Okay. Oh wow, that paid.
No, that's what I'm saying is I don't think anybody's getting a bill. I think they're just going to drive that car until the wheels fall off. We'll see what happens. But yeah, it's like I said, that was the last thing I really had. Everything else we've discussed. I think we've discussed everything else that I had in my notes and in my discussion points.
Same here.
So I guess we just got quotes now.
All right, quotes. Let me look at what I have for quotes. I do believe they are here. And nope, all I have is notes. Oh, okay. One quote, actually. Sorry.
Okay.
That would be Deaver. Okay, but you don't want a felony on your high school transcripts, and Nakia is stating that it's against her religious rights if they open the door, then hiding that guy who she states is her boyfriend, who obviously had a crush on her, and that was about it.
So I've got just a few here. The mosque, the leader of the mosque says, "I don't need anyone on my side. I'm not even concerned if God is on my side, as long as I am on his side, for God is always right." That, and he says he attributes that to Abraham Lincoln, which is correct. Sort of. The actual quote from Abraham Lincoln is, "Sir, my concern is not whether God is on our side. My greatest concern is to be on God's side, for God is always right." So I'm a little twisted, but that's, how many of us can directly quote from memory some of those kind of things. So
exactly.
I'm not quoting. I just thought it was interesting because I really wanted to look up to see if it was an actual quote from Abraham Lincoln, and sure enough, it was. So I thought that was great.
That is great.
The only other two I've got is when Kamala's brother is talking to Cameron, and he says, "Do you even like British Bake Off?" Because the whole thing about his being cousins and stuff. And then when the police call her Nightlight, she says, "Not that name." So I really enjoyed that, and I'm so glad we are going to get her changing her name.
Oh yeah, definitely. And the fact that, her father coined it, and now I'm hoping that she herself will say, and when presented and everybody asks, "Who are you?" she could say, "I'm Ms.Marvel."
Right.
And it would be next to Carol Danvers at that point saying Captain Marvel. So, and then obviously we're going to get Monica Rambeau, who will also be Captain Marvel. I don't know.
I don't know what name she's going to take up. We don't have a name for her.
We don't have a name yet. No. But overall, I thought it was a great show. I had a really good time with it, and I'm looking forward to what we have based on that little snippet of a cameo. I look forward to rewatching yet again to see if Carol Danvers does speak with Kamala's voice. So I have to really look into that.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go back and watch it again now to make sure I agree, because the closed captioning didn't say anything for it. I'll have to look it up again and see. It was really great. And I loved, especially like doing this episode with the boys and Ms. Marvel together is really great, because Ms. Marvel was a really good kind of, we talked about this before, like a palate cleanser. The boys is so violent, and so, which I love too, don't get me wrong, but the Ms. Marvel story was light. And this last episode was real, probably the heaviest one of them all. but it was still had that light note of hope and brightness to it that I just loved.
Yeah. The boys definitely did have a heavier tone to it, but we do have a brightness of light at the very end. At the very end of the season, unlike other seasons, the last few that we've had. But with Ms. Marvel too, it gave us that palate cleanser of while we were watching the boys, we could watch this and feel good about ourselves and feel good about somebody else too. And what they're doing. So, and it's like basically we're watching all these other people with the boys that have been dealing with their powers or dealing with people with powers at that point and opposing them. Whereas with Ms. Marvel, we just been dealing with, okay, she's learning about her powers. She wants to do good and she is doing good, but also making her mistakes. And at the very end, we get something positive out of it, and that's the whole point. So, next on for us would be She-Hulk. So, look forward to that. But before that, we're going to be moving into Thor: Love and Thunder. So, Robin and myself will actually be covering that this week. So, check that out when it comes out. But before we leave, we will talk about how you guys could get in touch with us as far as feedback, right?
Absolutely. Obviously, you are listening to us as we say every week in every episode. You are listening to us on your podcast player of choice. If that player allows you to give us a review, we would love to get a 5-star review from you. Obviously, they will contact us and let us know about that, and we would give you a shout out here on the podcast. We also have a website, which is panels2pixelspodcast.com. Mark has been vigorously working on that and getting that ready for you all.
And you could check us out on Facebook. We like to actually put in a picture of what we're covering that week. So that way you could easily leave a comment below the actual image within the comments below. So you just have to go to facebook.com/panels2pixels and just leave feedback below.
And we are on Twitter at panels2pixels. That's at the panels and the number 2 and then pixels.
Exactly. Or you could leave us an email, and our email address is panels2pixels1@gmail.com. Panels, the 2 is spelled out T-O, pixels, and the number 1@gmail.com. There you could just send out a regular texted email. If you don't feel like sending out a texted email, that's fine. All you have to do is record yourself on your phone, your computer, or whatever, just a voice recording, and then attach it as an attachment. And then we will play it, and then we'll just comment accordingly as we're recording.
We are on YouTube. We are Panels 2 Pixels Podcast there. So you can check us out, subscribe, give us a thumbs up. Again, that's Panels 2 Pixels Podcast. Don't just search for Panels 2 Pixels. You'll get a whole nother YouTube channel, but it's Panels 2 Pixels Podcast.
Yeah, but if you like Josh, do subscribe and like what he does too.
Yeah.
We are also on Instagram, and that's at Panels 2 Pixels Podcast. That's all spelled out as it is. Panels 2 T-O Pixels Podcast.
And we would love for you to check out all the other content on the Next Level Podcast Network. We highly recommend them. Wilhelm, The Melting Pat, Podcast Zero, and so many more. That ones that are coming back. You can go online to nextlevelradioonline.com and see all of them right there. There's links to the shows. Even Panels to Pixels is there.
Yep. You can check us out there. Or you can just go straight to your podcast player of choice. Where can where else can listeners hear us, Steve?
I don't know anymore. No, I send voicemails to various podcasts. It has been a silly week, y'all, and I'm fixing to go to camp with a bunch of youth for the week. It's going to be crazy, and it's going to be stupid hot. But anyway, so you probably won't hear me for a little while. But I send voicemails to various podcasts that our friends do, and I love to shout those out. Obviously, Strange Indeed just wrapped up their Stranger Things coverage, and what WTF is From just wrapped up their coverage of the first season of From. I send regular voicemails to them. Then, of course, Run for Your Lives right here on the next. What this
No,
is
wrong podcast network.
Of course, Run for Your Lives on the Pirate Core podcast network is Pirate Core Entertainment. Excuse me. Pirate Core Entertainment, Run for Your Lives podcast. I send them regular voicemails as often as I can.
Okay. All right. Well, you all can listen to me on the Adrenaline Cinema podcast network. Wow. Here we go.
This has been a podcast, y'all.
Yeah. Steve has got me on the roll. Okay. So you could find me on the Adrenaline Cinema podcast, and there we cover anything action-related, fantasy, thriller, suspense, everything that gets your adrenaline going, obviously. I think the last thing that I put up was The Angry Red Planet with Jerry and myself. We had a great time about that. It was a 1959 movie, so if you guys are not familiar with it, you can easily find it on YouTube. There are ads, so if you're a YouTube subscriber for free, literally you just have to suffer through the ads. It's that kind of 50s horror movie, science fiction, kaiju style movie. So check that out. And Jerry and I covered that there. Before that, we had Contact with Lizzie and myself. Coming up will be Escape from Planet of the Apes. So we're covering Escape from Planet of the Apes with Jerry and myself. We're continuing our apes coverage, as it were. And after that, you'll probably hear Steve and I cover Predator, and then after that, Prey, once it comes out. So, you could check me out there on Adrenaline Cinema Podcast on the Pirate Core Entertainment Network. I will be providing some feedback to Strange Indeed for Stranger Things Season 4, Episode 9. So I'll give my heavy metal kind of review of what was going on within the actual episode for that particular season finale. But a little quick thoughts of what I liked about it, too, before I go into that. But other than that, that's about it. But Steve, I think you and I really did cover The Boys and Ms.Marvel within this particular episode.
We did well for Panels to Pixels podcast.
Yeah, I think so too. It was a dual chore, but we did it. Next time you guys hear us, we'll be doing Thor: Love and Thunder. That will be Rob and myself, and then after that, we'll be moving on to the Umbrella Academy. So I know that TV podcast Industries has already started it, and I'm sure Strange Indeed has jumped right into it, but we'll be about an episode behind, maybe 2, but please keep up with us and, check them out just the same as you do us. It's fun. So with that, same podcast, different panel, different pixel. I'm Mark.
And I'm Steve.
And this was Panels to Pixels, and we'll see you on the next panel. Good night, everybody.
Good night.